Yay! The 2, the 3, and the 4. And first, we're going to begin with a meditation. So, Russ,
Yeah.
please lead us in a meditation.
Well, there really are different layers to the heart. And when we're walking around being who we think we are, most of the time we're staying at best in the outermost layers of what the heart is experientially. And we can actually embark from what we learned last time, if you were here for the last gathering, or at least you saw the recording, that it's through the body that we're able to actually get to the deeper parts of the heart. That seems kind of counterintuitive at first. Certainly it was to me, but it's actually true.
One more sentiment and boom, that's 7 points.
So as we're sitting here, I would invite us to do what we did last time, which is to find breath and sensation. And that just brings us in from wherever we're caught up, whatever we're stuck in, whatever I'm identified with. As soon as I bring in a little more awareness of breath and sensation, it gives me some wiggle room. It brings me more into my direct experience, the experience of what's happening in my body, heart, and mind here and now. Otherwise, I'm just caught up in those patterns. And if I actually stay with that for more than a few moments, there's a softening of my experience. It's a very interesting thing. It's hard to describe, but if I really stay with the breath and sensation and keep relaxing into that, just being right here, letting that sensation and breath be a landing pad. Well, then the whole atmosphere of me becomes less frantic, agitated, sharp, reactive. There's I start to experience more of the field of my sensitive, intelligent awareness. And that's my heart. And the deeper part of the heart actually rises up and meets the agitated parts of my heart, soothes them. It's like being helped from the inside out. Remember last time I talked about that inner massage with the one. It's like that here. Just to let that, it's almost billowing like clean sheets on a clothesline on a nice sunny day. Fresh, effulgent, tender. And that's the soul. That's you and me. That's closer to home of what we are on a deeper level. And we may also notice that our mind is a little less busy, a little less cluttered. The more I'm in my body and heart, the less my mind has to make up stuff to feel like I'm here. Because as I'm here with the body and heart, I actually am here more than I was. And that's a lovely thing. And from here, I can see what's needed for next steps in my journey. From here, I can be there for the people in my life and whatever they may be going through, with a lot less reactivity and a lot more soul, which is what everybody wants from me. everybody knows that's what I'm really about. It's really kind of a funny thing, you know, as we start to talk. We don't have to officially say we're stopping practicing now. It's actually better if I stay closer, if I keep taking those deeper breaths and relaxing and feeling myself as I'm listening and participating in this call. You know, everybody knows what I'm really about. Everybody knows what you're really about. And everybody also knows every one of my stinky bad habits and annoying defenses and all the ridiculous little dances that I do. They know all of them. And don't you know all the little tricks of your beloveds and your friends? You know all their little shtick. You know every little dance step they do. And we all underestimate the power of love, because even though we know people are just giving us a lot of BS most of the time, we know their real heart and we love them anyway. And we're patiently waiting for them to unveil themselves in some sense. You know, we're all afraid to do it because we think what people want is our shtick. We think people actually want us to do our little dance. In point of fact, anybody who loves me is waiting for me to reveal my soul, my heart. And, you know, isn't that true for you when you think of the people you care about? You know their silly stuff, but you also know that on a good day, that person relaxes and you see the glory of who and what they are. We're all sort of waiting for that. So my proposal at this meeting is, why don't we have our friends wait less often? Why don't we take a risk and get a little more grounded and start to offer up the sensitive, intelligent reality of what we are, instead of all the ways we sort of collude with each other to pretend like we know what we're doing and that we're all grown-ups. You know, this is the way we might actually become grown-ups, by the way, in my estimation. So we're looking at the heart center, and I've been talking about it pretty explicitly, and we have 3 types that teach us about the heart center. All of the types teach us something about the heart center. Didn't you learn something about the heart from the 8, 9, and 1 last time? I did. And you could say the 2, 3, and 4 are more explicitly about the particular good qualities, advantages, the beautiful riches of the heart on one hand, but they're also about the challenges and what comes up when we have departed our presence and we feel we can't really stay with our heart in the same way. Now, what's also clear, and I hope is clear, this doesn't mean if you're 2, 3, and 4 that you have more heart than other people. That's just narcissism again. How would you know? First off, I'm deeper than everyone. I have more heart than everyone. Oh, really? How would you know that? That's a pretty narcissistic statement, my friend. And I understand what you're really trying to tell me is that you have more depth and riches in your heart than probably I'm perceiving, other people are perceiving. And that's true. But that's true of everybody. Right? So here we're trying to find out about how to get to those riches a little more often. So the other thing to say here before I talk specifically about 2, 3, and 4 is that when we're not present with the heart experiences that as abandonment. So what really we need to take that in. As soon as I'm not present on a heart level, I feel abandoned. I feel bereft. feel someone or something's missing. I feel an absence of holding in love. And then my ego patterns get real busy trying to fix that situation in particular ways, trying to handle that feeling of abandonment, the sadness of it, the terror of it, the overwhelm of it, the hurt of it. You know, most people are walking around with a lot of hurt, more than people generally show. I used to say when I was teaching, I haven't met anybody past the age of, say, a minute that doesn't have a broken heart. And so we learn to kind of pull ourselves together and put on our best face and do what we can and deal with it. But there's a kind of hurt in our heart, and it manifests as this feeling of abandonment. And so when we're not present, we don't know how to go deep enough into our experience to actually bring the intelligence and holding to that part of me that feels so distressed. We don't have the resources. So what we do instead is we try to manage it in different ways. And we have to hang out more on the surface of the heart. The surface of the heart manifests in one of two ways. Either as a kind of flatness and distance from our emotions, and some Enneagram types are going to pick that, or we're in a constant state of emotional reactivity. Everything pushes our buttons, everything gets to us. We're reacting. Somebody likes us, we're all happy, and something doesn't go our way and we're just enraged or upset, and we're just at the mercy of whatever is the next thing that's going to push our buttons. Well, that is a signal I'm not present in the heart. To the degree I'm not present in the heart, I am reactive. And during times like this, oh boy, there's a lot of opportunity for reactivity, right? This is a laboratory. We can really get to more familiar with our reactivity and the patterns of it. Our reactivity is not random. It's actually pretty repetitious. When my buttons get pushed, there's a certain dance that I do, and anybody who loves me knows that dance. I could imitate it probably. But I want to say that getting detached and intellectualizing and remote that way, that's also an emotional reaction. It's a reaction of withdrawal. So all of these things are kind of where our ego life hangs out. You got an ego, you got reactivity. They kind of go together. As we find the deeper heart, as I said, the idea is not that something in me is going to stop my reactivity. Like, what would do that? It's more that as we get present and reconnect with the deeper heart, we start, it kind of rises up out of the depths, bringing sensitivity, kindness, patience, gentleness, sometimes necessary fierceness that is not reactive. It's just no bullshit, right? It's just like, hey. But these different qualities of the heart come up to heal and hold and soothe all this reactivity, and right down to the core of it, to the hurts that are really getting us, driving us. So when we look at the 2, 3, and 4, there are different ways of playing out that particular spectrum of human experience. Yes, and somebody asked, if we're present, can't we be heartbroken? Yes. In fact, you'll finally feel it. As we'll see, each type tells us what we do with our heartbreak. If we were actually present with our heartbreak, we might cry, we might feel really sad, we probably will, and that will be the beginning of healing it. To be present with it is not the same as acting it out. It's like we saw last time, the 9, getting in touch with my anger and being present with my anger is not the same as running around being an idiot. being an aggressive, mean-spirited person. People do those things because they're not aware. The same, it's sort of, my mentor Almas, A.H. Almas, used to say, we metabolize these hurts. We digest them. The greater soul, the consciousness that we are, can transmute them. If you were talking about this in religious language, we open our heart to grace and we allow grace in, and grace can go in and heal this woundedness inside. And so, yes, as we get more present, we'll probably feel more. And that's what stops a lot of people from really being present. A lot of people they get a little presence, they start to get their real feelings and grief and hurt, and then they turn their presence into a trance, which is back to what I said in the 9, namaste, F you. That's not presence, that's dissociation. It's very popular in spiritual circles. And understandably so. You know, where people are in pain, they don't want to be in pain. There's not hard to understand. And dissociation will get you out of pain. Presence will often make you actually experience what you're running from. It's the end of abandoning ourselves. So I hope that makes sense. So if we look at that 2, and I'm sure there's some lovely 2s in our group today. 2 is the part of us that is the part of the heart that feels naturally in communion with life, with other human beings, with animals. Try to turn away a cute puppy, right? Can't. It's that part of us that no matter what type we are, we see a really adorable young infant and we just, oh, you know, that feeling we all get. There's this, and it's kind of overwhelming. It's a big feeling. We think of it as cute, but if you really think of the effect on it, it just stops us in our tracks. We actually feel connected. And when we feel connected, there's a beautiful sense of appreciating everything and everyone. We appreciate each other. We don't take each other for granted. There's a profound sweetness, but not a cloying sweetness. It's kind of fresh and clean, like sniffing roses that have a little dew on them. And that, you just inhale those roses and just notice, and suddenly it's the aspect of presence as it appears in the heart that feels like everything is held, everything is cared for, everything is loved. And someone asked, is this innocence? Well, innocence is technically the name for the virtue of the 8, but certainly there is an innocence to what I'm talking about. Certainly the innocence of an infant, as I said, it's a holding of innocence. And we usually will think of that in relation to another person or another being, maybe with our pet, but it's really part of the field of consciousness itself. It's part of presence itself. Like I could be walking on a beach by myself or walking in the mountains. Or I don't know, you guys probably live in all sorts of different places. I was using examples of nature, but my home has been New York City. I can just be walking down the street with no one in particular and just fall in love with everybody. And just feel like, and people they can tell when you do that too. They're like, oh, hi, you know, they can tell you got something going on. There's a sense of sweetness, connection, things getting taken care of, hurts getting held. There's a kindness to it. You get the feeling, right? I could use 100 words, but I'm trying to paint a picture for you that you can then enter into and feel that part of yourself. If you're a 2, that's home base. And that's what you want to bring to the world. That's what you want people to know, that sweetness. You want people to feel that holding. You want people to know that needs will get met with intelligence and kindness. There's an intelligence to all this. It's not just, you know, a feeling. It's got this quality of attunement. So when we're not present, which is most of the time for almost everybody, we have the experience of the loss of presence is the loss of sweetness, the loss of heart connection, the loss of holding, the loss of needs getting met. So suddenly the world looks like every man and woman for him or herself. Everything looks very isolated, alone, disconnected, heartless. And that some people are just get cynical and say, well, that's the way the world is. Grow up and deal with it. You know, people are no damn good. That's how it is. Some people take that attitude consciously or unconsciously. And some people who happen to be two can't tolerate that. So no way will I accept that as a reality. So starting in early childhood, these beautiful little twos on an ego level try to fix that by being all those things. I'm going to take care of everything. I'm going to be tender. I'm going to bring sweetness. I'm going to address needs that are here, whatever they may be. I'm going to use whatever talents I have to make darn sure that these things get taken care of and there is connection around here. Right? Not just me connected to others. I want other people to be connected too. And so the poor little ego takes on the job of trying to manage all that, which, let's face it, that's a very big job. It's actually God's job. So it's a hard one to take on. It's sort of, Don Riso used to joke about this. It's sort of like the two is saying, well, God is really not taking care of things very well here, so I better step in. And that's why the passion of the two is called pride. And it sort of points at it. So the issue here in such times for people who have two is the need is so great around us. We can get constantly triggered, right? There's so many people in need, and there's so many problems, and there's so much suffering. And our poor little heart's about to explode with that. So we can get sort of torn apart internally by all the ways we want to be there for different people in our life. And if I'm really a two, I'm not just thinking about it. I'm really out there doing stuff, trying to stop the bleeding here, there, and everywhere. That's a lot. And the first thing that croaks when I'm in that modality, when I'm caught up in that pattern, is my own self-care. Now, we humans take such crappy care of ourselves that we think of self-care as pampering or a treat, as a reward for how awfully we've treated ourselves most of the time. Well, I've run around like an insane maniac for 3 weeks, but it's okay. I'm going to the beach for a couple of days. That's not self-care. Self-care is a lifestyle. Self-care is a way of orienting to myself. Self-care is ceasing the abandoning of my heart. Self-care is staying with myself enough to notice what I can do, how I can contribute, but also how I can take care of myself. Self-care is also receiving the support of others, which is really the hard part for most human beings, and certainly for Enneagram 2s. So as I said, when we're not present, we leave the heart, and the two way of leaving the heart is being just totally focused on other people's hurts and needs. And it's not accurate to say that I'm not aware that I have hurts and needs, but I don't give them much airtime. I don't honor them. I don't support myself, and I get lost. I keep myself busy with other people's difficulties or needs in such a way, and the little payoff is that's kind of a substitute way of feeling some kind of esteem or good about myself. Dear God, did you notice all the people I helped today? Right? And it's an innocent thing to do. Is no reason to shame ourselves about it, but we're grown-ups, and we ought to begin to start to see how that doesn't really pay off for our heart in the way we always think it will. Like, how many thousands of times do we have to run this cycle before we realize we're getting emotionally bankrupt in the process? So, you don't have to be a 2 to recognize this pattern. A lot of people have this pattern. And if you can see that in yourself, you can be a lot more empathetic and supportive of your friends who are 2s. But to just see that how quickly we can give ourselves away, give our soul away, so that we will feel good about ourselves, and hopefully someone will love us. So the direction of stress for the 2, say quickly, is to 8. And that's really easy to understand. What emotion comes up for most of us when we keep on doing things for people, keep on being nice to them, keep on thinking about them, doing favors for them, supporting them, and so forth, and we don't feel that we're getting seen, honored, or recognized? And of course, we're not taking care of ourselves either, which doesn't help. And so after a while, what are we going to feel? Anger, rage. We're going to tell people, look, you. And this sort of aggression and control comes out. And that's the 8. But it's coming. Yeah, I'm the victim, don't you see? And now I'm going to come back and just set you all straight, damn it. So you can only go so far with the 2-ness before the 8 is going to snap you back in the other direction. So, if you think of 8 actually as something you need, which is self-respect, honoring yourself, being present in your body with your energy, feeling your empowerment, well, that'd be a lot quicker way to get things sorted out than waiting till being nice until you get angry. Okay, so the 3s, I would imagine we got some 3s on here. 3 is the center of the heart triad. And so like the 9, it's kind of the core of the whole conundrum. 3 is in a really direct way about the central thing that happens when we connect with our heart versus what happens when we disconnect with our heart. And as I said, not being present and being identified with your Enneagram type pattern means not present, not connected to the heart, even if you're a 2 or a 4. We do all this crazy emotional stuff because we're not connected with our heart. This is not the kind of stuff that people like to talk about in these, Enneagram chat discussions and so forth on Facebook, and trying to, fluff up their narcissism. We're trying to get past that to what will actually bring us what we're looking for. So 3 is just the fact that if we're really present and with our heart, we love our life. We love who we are. We feel an amazing gratitude to be given this life, and that we have the talents we have, the whatever they may be, whatever capacities we have, that we have this life as an opportunity, and we feel it that way. And so we feel a kind of beautiful, how toward the end of the day, on a sunny day, there's that magic hour that photographers are always looking for, where everything has like a golden hue on it. It's kind of like that. Like the world, life, my heart, everything's kind of golden like that. And there's a relaxation that comes to the soul as we actually feel that. It's not only that I'm okay, there's something wonderful. Another way, and this is where it connects with the 2, it's if you're of a religious nature, it's like where you really start to feel that you are loved by God. You are beloved. So for some people, it comes out that way. And when you have that, you're also recognizing, yes, I am consciousness, I am presence. That's true. I saw that back at 9, but also I am this particular person with this particular life journey. And I'm going to live here on the earth for a while. And that part matters. That's why a lot of 3s don't really like a lot of spiritual hoodoo stuff, because it doesn't seem to honor or respect the part of us that is here as a human being living a human life, as if that part wasn't important, right? It is important. Or if I would, again, putting in a religious language, God went to a lot of trouble to create a world and oxygen and a sun at the right distance and bring this whole long biological evolution to put you and me in this world. There's a lot that had to happen to get us here. And to sort of say, well, it was all a mistake is, to me, a rather arrogant statement. It's claiming to know things I don't really know. But when you feel into it, you start to feel this feeling of, it's really the resolution of rejecting yourself. All ego structures are in some sense a self-rejection. We're giving up on the totality of what we are, and we're trying to be something, and we're busy trying to be something or become something. And that's the 3 in a nutshell. I don't let myself be because I'm so busy trying to become something that I think I'm supposed to be. I'm so busy doing things I think I'm supposed to be doing. Right? And nobody's going to do that more than a 3. 3s are active people. They like doing stuff. They like getting things accomplished. They have goals. They like finishing projects, and that's all beautiful. I think that's great. I think it's wonderful there are people in the world like that. The problem here is not that, because the interesting thing is even when 3s lose presence, they still function. But all of us, when we're not present, our functioning becomes disconnected from our heart and from the direct experience of our soul nature. And so then we're just a human doing instead of a human being. You've heard that cliche before, I'm sure. So we're running around doing this, that, and the other thing, getting things done. And at the end of the day, what was it all for? I should be feeling great, and I feel empty. And so there's this, over time, this leads us to a kind of inner bankruptcy and burnout. 3s a lot of times hit burnout because they just can't do anymore. And it's driven by, and this is important to understand, I'm doing all this to prove that I am a valuable person, that I'm worth loving, that my life is meaningful and I have a purpose. But rather than finding that meaning in my heart, which is the only place I'll ever find it, and rather than addressing my heart to see what might actually call me, I end up instead trying
second
to
shelf.
Hello? Somebody else is on here with me. I end up trying to become what I think would be lovable. And I spend all my time doing that, trying to become who and what I believe would be worthy of existing, worthy of approval, right? So the journey here is not about giving up doing. That's not necessarily going to help us. It's more about reuniting the soul, the heart, with our functioning, so that we're doing stuff from our center, from our heart, so that our functioning has meaning and is guided by a sense of meaning and is guided by a sense of purpose. And in that, great things can happen. And who knows what our purpose is? Our purpose, we're so kind of, programmed in North America to assume that our purpose has something to do with our career, our job. It might, but it might not. There's a lot of people I know whose purpose is actually in their avocation, in something else they do. Some people, I've used the example of people who, for example, are parents, and their purpose really is to be fantastic parents. And that's, you could say that's a career, but that's where my energy is. I'm going to do this right. I'm going to give myself totally to this journey of being a parent. That's an example. Wallace Stevens was a fantastic poet, but his job was that he was an insurance salesman. So, what's actually calls our heart and what we contribute to the world is something we find. And the more we're living connected with our heart, the better chance that our true calling can find us. And sometimes it's during crises like these that we actually can hear that voice a little more clearly. We just calm ourselves down. It's there. Under stress, 3s go to 9. What's that look like? I have done enough. I have worked hard enough. I have done everything I was supposed to do. All you guys just screw off. I'm getting on the couch. I'm going to just watch some favorite TV shows. I'm going to just sit at the meeting and nod because I have nothing else to add. I just am fried. And so I'm just like the 9, I'm withdrawing into my own little world and just giving out the minimum necessary that what I think people expect of me, but kind of going numb and shutting down. And again, that's like an indication that I'm overstressed and moving toward burnout. So we don't want that. If you see that happening, it's also a clue that you really do need to find a way to relax and connect with yourself. But that's different than numbing out. 4. 4 is always an interesting topic. And, I'm sure we got some 4s here on the call. I always have a little joke that about in North America, in the United States and Canada, and really nowhere else, it's not a situation in Asia or Europe, but for some reason in North America, I would say about 60% of the people who report they are 4s to me, I suspect they're not. Everybody wants to be a 4 for some reason. And I think the reason is because that 4s have this reputation of having more feelings and being deeper and being creative. Well, look, any of the 9 types can be creative. Everybody has depth to them, and everybody's got feelings. I would say that you have to look at the whole gestalt, the whole pattern, as we are with the other types. So what is it with the 4? The gift of the 4 has to do with the heart. It has to do with what I would broadly call intimacy. Now, a lot of people think they like intimacy. Usually it scares the hell out of people. Intimacy is not having a conversation about my issues. Intimacy is not sexuality. Intimacy is not just hanging with my homies. Intimacy could arise in any of those situations, but it is not those things. Intimacy is when I'm so present with my heart that I let go of all the identities, all the things I've assumed about myself and about you, and I allow the mystery of what's actually here to be here. And my heart loves it. My ego is terrified of it. Because all moves into intimacy are a kind of death. They're a kind of letting go of who I think I am. And even more threatening, who I think you are. But intimacy tends to be what restores sanity, what restores love in a relationship, what restores a sense of self-respect. even when we have things about ourselves that we like or we're trying to prop up as the good stuff about who we are, it always exists in some subconscious relationship with all the ways, as I said, that we reject ourselves, that we put ourselves down, that we think we're not very good people. And so intimacy takes us beyond both to where we really, really, really don't know not only who we are, but what we are. If you follow the path of intimacy, that's where it goes. Now, the good thing about intimacy from a more pedestrian point of view is that intimacy deepens the sense of beauty. Have you ever had an intimate moment where you weren't more aware of beauty? And vice versa. Have you ever really experienced something that touched your soul as beautiful? Not pretty, not cute, not my taste, beautiful. Was it not intimate? They're part of this parcel of the same thing. And this is kind of the home territory of four. Now, everybody likes that, but people who are fours set their lives up to make that the priority. It isn't like, well, you know, I work in an insurance company and everything, but I like to listen to Joni Mitchell. No, that's not it. Your life is a devotion to intimacy, depth, beauty, mystery, and you find a way to do that. A lot of people really are fours, have difficulty having practical lives because they're always trying to work out how to balance their need for this intimacy and beauty and depth and mystery with the vicissitudes of operating in the world in some way. And most fours find, fairly creative ways to do it. But, look, everybody likes beauty. Everybody thinks they want intimacy. Everybody thinks of themselves. I've never heard somebody say, yes, I'm a very shallow and superficial person. Nobody thinks that. We all think we're deep. This is just, but there's a way that we orient toward that in such a way that we're almost an exemplar, a teacher of that to others by how we live our lives. I'm sure you know people in your life who really are devoted to beauty and intimacy and mystery and how they live, how they put themselves together, what they do with their time. And other people for whom it's a part of their life, but it's not their focal point, right? All that is really gorgeous, but for the four, losing presence is losing all of that. There's no intimacy, there's no beauty, there's no depth, there's no mystery. Life is superficial, ugly, flat, meaningless, dull, grim. So then as a four, many people will say, well, right, I'm going to go make money, or right, I'm going to go learn about something, or right, that's just the way the world is. Get over yourself. Suck it up. The four says, F you to all of that. The four says, like the two, I don't accept this. I'm going to create a life that is all those things. I'm going to create a life of beauty. I'm going to create a life of intimacy. I'm going to create a life of mystery. I'm going to create all of that. And I'll only let certain people in who get it. And if you don't get it, leave me the hell alone. If you do, let's be friends. Let's be lovers. Right? I'm going to work at that. But the problem is, I'm also going to work at at the core of all this, which I didn't really say, all these things, mystery, identity, mystery, beauty, depth, intimacy, they're all signposts of true identity, which is known in the heart, the deepest place in the heart. So beyond just trying to create these other elements, I'm also trying to define myself all the time. I'm this way, I'm not that way. I like this, I don't like that. Not only am I I'm a four with this wing, and I'm this instinct, and this is my tri-type, and let me get down every little effing specific of it, and get it more and more precise to be me, which is completely the wrong direction. If you're a four, you'll never find yourself that way. And it's kind of a craziness that I see going around the Enneagram field. You can have all these little descriptions and details, doesn't mean you've taken one step closer to discovering the mystery of what you are. You've just found descriptions that are agreeable to your narcissism. So the 4 gets bound by all these ideas that I have about myself. I get stuck in trying to create this lifestyle that honors this and that and the other thing. And instead of opening to the beauty and mystery of the world, I start closing off from the world to sort of create my own little reality that has the things that I believe are beautiful, meaningful, intimate, and so forth, and that define me. But that world gets smaller and smaller and smaller. The 4s are generally not the ones who are, suffering because they have too much work to do. The 3 gets burned out by overwork. The 2 gets burned out by doing too much stuff for other people. The 4 starts to collapse their world until it's so small they can't live in it anymore. And then all of that sort of turns against me as a kind of self-rejection turns into a kind of self-hatred. And then I'm having a very bitter and dark life. Now, we can see 4s aren't the only people who get, that's the other thing, 4s aren't the only people who get depressed. Believe me, all 9 types get depressed. 4s are not more troubled than other types. They're not more crazy than other types. In the levels that Don Riso and I taught, a level 6 of a 2 or a level 6 of a 3 or a level 6 of a 4, it's all about the same degree in trouble, right? It's just that 4s are more vocal and explicit about what's eaten them. They don't have trouble revealing that they're having difficulties. Other types cover it up. I used to say one of the litmus tests for 4s are pretty honest with themselves about when they really detest someone or something, or when they hate something. So I hate that. They have no trouble saying that. Hatred, I don't really, not a 4. You're a 9, a 2, a 7, I don't know what you are, but you're not a 4. I say that because I meet all these 4s, again, who the individual thing gets to be, I'm the kind of 4 that doesn't have envy. I'm the kind of 4 that isn't sad. I'm kind of 4 who doesn't have these issues. Well, then how is thinking of yourself as a 4 going to help you? You've got no issues. You don't need the Enneagram. Have a nice day. Right? We can use these little exceptions in the system to make sure the way the Enneagram can help us never gets to us. And people do that a lot. That's why I'm saying as friend to friend here, because we will run into that. And it's a real occupational hazard in working with the Enneagram. And it isn't just about 4s, just this in our culture, it tends to be a recurrent theme. So direction of stress of 4 is 2. What that is when I'm 4, my issues start to be about expecting special treatment, special consideration, wanting people to take my sensitivities into account. And if I'm not doing too well, I don't necessarily take their sensitivities into account in the same way. And I become, quote, difficult, end quote. I start to be touchy, moody, hard to live with. I kind of know it, but I kind of think, well, if you really love me, you'll deal with all this. But really, people may love me a lot, but they get fed up with my games and my nonsense, as we do with anybody, any type. But that's just the way I do it as a 4. And so then people start to say, all right, I've had it. I've had enough of you. You're just too much. And then people start to leave. Now I have to reel them back in. Now I have to be super nice. Now I have to be very positive. Now I have to reaffirm, honey, you are so special. You are my bestie. You are my friend. Let me take a gorgeous picture of you. Let me do this. Nobody appreciates you like I do. And of course, our difficulty and our withdrawal has gone too far. And we realize, oh my God, I may actually drive my loved ones away. Now I've got to win them back and reestablish the connections. But I often will do so in a way that's kind of off balance. So, you know, all of these are just signifiers that I'm stressing. When we're living with, yes, that's going to two. If we are living in close quarters with our loved ones during this time, really important to be sensitive to your own needs, as I was saying with the two, to really honor the opportunity for intimacy and beauty that's here in this time, and to remember that other people have their sensitivities and depth and needs too. How can I be with the depth and sensitivity of the people I am living with right now? How can I see something beyond all my ideas about them, something about the beauty and mystery of who they are? If I can do that, then the beautiful gift of the four comes out, this beautiful invitation into the real place of the heart. I've never met a four that would turn down that invitation. That's what your gift is, to invite us back to our deepest, truest humanity. And I can only do that when I'm with mine. So there you go. There's the 2, the 3, and the 4, and their stress points. And the last thing I'd say about the heart before we sign off here is that the deeper heart is very different than the outer heart. The outer heart works in polarities. It likes or it doesn't like. It's for it, it's against it, it likes it, it doesn't like it. And our heart on its reactive level is like that. The deeper heart, the non-reactive heart, is not for or against anything. It holds everything. Our ego, based as it is in the reactivity, can't really get that. It just sounds like somebody who doesn't want to deal with anything, or somebody who's very remote or very dull, right? But the actual experience of your deeper heart is this beautiful depth, stillness, exquisite tenderness. And it's not about like and dislike. And so as we're going through this, challenging period, I would invite you through your practice with breath and presence and embodiment to see if each day you can drop in a little further and touch this deeper, non-reactive heart. In Gurdjieff language, original Enneagram language, that deeper heart is called the higher emotional center. And when it lines up with our ordinary emotions and heart, starts to transform them, and it transforms them into the Enneagram of virtues, which is another whole teaching. Okay. So I hope I gave you something to work with in your home during this time. It's really cool from one point of view that there's a few things off of our plates, many of us, so there might actually be a little time to explore some of these things. And let's use our time well. I'm certainly doing my best to. I hope you are too.
Thank you so much, Russ. So we will be on again on Tuesday at the same time. And we are going to be discussing the head center. So the 5, the 6, and the 7. So look forward to having everybody then. Look forward to sharing your wisdom. Thank you, Russ. And be well, everybody.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Well, see you next time. Thank you for coming by.
Thank you.
Thank you, Russ.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you too.
Thank you, Russ. Bye.
Oh, very nice. I love how international we are. It's so nice. Global community.
Thanks so much.
You're very welcome. Thank you. Okay, I'm signing off here.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Be well.
Thank you.
You too.
Strategies that we have for.
Okay, I'm signing off. See you guys.